Did you know that according to the Environmental Management Agency, EMA, Zimbabwe produces an estimated 1.6 million tons of waste per year, with plastic making up 18% of this waste. But where does this waste go to? Usually, it is dumped in random places and finds its way into the environment where it is not wanted or ends up in landfills. This leads to air and water pollution, soil contamination, reduced quality of life, and the spread of disease. But all this can be avoided if we stop littering and start recycling. Welcome to Sustain for future generations. Solid waste has become a major problem in Zimbabwe and across most parts of the world, especially in urban areas. Oftentimes, you see people from all walks of life contributing to this menace that we call waste. From throwing fast food packaging or cans and bottles out of buses and cars, to dumping loads of diapers in open spaces. Poor waste management starts with how we choose to deal with our own waste at individual level. Waste refers to any substance or material that is discarded, unwanted, or no longer needed. It is a byproduct of human activities ranging from everyday household activities to industrial processes. Efficient waste management involves reducing the generation of waste, reusing materials where possible, recycling to recover valuable resources, and disposing of the remaining waste in an environmentally responsible manner. The Zimbabwe Sunshine Group started in 2007 as a social club and has over the years evolved into an entity that is working to solve Zimbabwe's waste problems in a sustainable manner.
So it was basically young people who then started some activities around your cleanup campaigns, just within different communities, especially in the community of Mavuku. And then after that, that's when new ideas started coming up to say, we are doing cleanup campaigns, but they are not sustainable. How then do we transition from just having activities into a convergence of ideas that can be transformative, that can be implemented within communities by young people and women? The programming that anchors the work that the organization does, it's anchored around the international instruments that we have, your SDGs, as well as the national policies that we have. So if you look at it, there are national policies that looks at certain priorities, especially in the area of recycling. Within the National Development Strategy, there is a pillar on that looks at increasing the number of recycling activities within communities. And that's one of the areas that the organization is making significant contributions. Then secondly, if you look at the SDGs that we have, I think the organization is covering almost 13 SDGs out of the 17. And the key amongst the SDGs that we are touching on is SDG number 1, SDG number 2, SDG number 7, 8, 13, and as well as 17. But you look at most of the SDGs, they are covered by the work that we are doing. We have looked at the social assets that are within communities. And we said, I think it's important for us to build on the social assets that exist within communities, to build community social infrastructure that then strengthens and build resilience and livelihoods within the communities. How do we strengthen existing opportunities within communities and turning those issues that are similarly viewed as challenges into opportunities for development? In so doing, with then some of the activities we have been doing at this organization, they've now fed national development processes like your low emissions development strategy. One of our pinnacle projects on organic waste composting actually fed into that process as a data provider for the baseline that was used for the low emissions development strategy for the waste sector. The work that we do requires you to build a lot of credibility in terms of demonstrating that we have the capacity. So I think the early years of our operations, that was one of the biggest challenges, because wherever we'll be going, we'll be asked to warm their hearts in terms of demonstrating our capacity to be implementing some of the big ideas that we had. As young people, people perceived that we didn't have what it takes to also be able to implement some of the initiatives we had. Then secondly, we really needed to develop the capacity in terms of the technical know-how for the organization, of which it took us quite a number of years to be able to end up getting opportunities to go for exchange programs so that we could build models that would demonstrate locally for support from the different partners that are available locally. Then I think the other challenge also was around the issue of young people participating in the work that we do. I think the work that we do is not something that is cozy for people or fashionable for people to want to be associated with. We are always in our overalls. We are separating waste. We are playing with the dirty, and most young people would not want to be associated with that. So it took us quite a long time for us to try to make what we do appealing to young people and women. Finally, the issue of the enablers, I think, is one of the biggest challenges. The work we do requires a lot of equipment. It requires a lot of machinery, but you will see that through our journey, most of the things we're doing it manually without any equipment. So now at the stage where we are, that's where we have now done the transition because of what we have acquired over the years in terms of capacity to demonstrate to partners, and now strategic partnerships that are coming on board to address the challenge of the enablers or the tools of trade that we required to be in this space.
Waste can be broadly categorized into different types based on its characteristics. Firstly, there is solid waste, which includes household garbage, packaging, discarded appliances, and other items. Liquid waste comprises wastewater, sewage, and other discarded liquids, often stemming from industrial processes or domestic activities. Gaseous waste denotes emissions released into the air, often originating from industrial processes, transportation, or other human activities. Hazardous waste contains substances with potential threats to human health or the environment due to toxicity, flammability, corrosiveness, or other hazardous characteristics. E-waste comprises discarded electronic devices like computers, smartphones, and appliances. Biodegradable waste includes organic materials like food scraps, yard waste, and other plant-based items that can decompose naturally. Construction and demolition waste, often called rubble, stems from building and infrastructure projects, including materials like concrete, wood, and metal. And finally, recyclable waste comprises materials like paper, glass, plastic, and metal that can be processed and reused to create new products. With coverage in Tafara, Highfields, Epworth, Harare Exhibition Park, and Mbare, the Zimbabwe Sunshine Group is not only empowering communities but also spreading their waste collection and recycling initiatives throughout Greater Harare. Families like this one in Tafara collect and separate waste and are now earning income by selling trash. All they have to do is call the Zimbabwe Sunshine Group's waste collection team whenever they have gathered enough recyclable waste, and they get paid. Once the waste is collected, it is taken to the recycling centers where it is weighed, recorded, sorted, and prepared for the recycling process. The recycling center in Tafara was started in 2019 after the identification of waste pickers from Mavuku, Tafara, and Caledonia to form a registered community-based organization.
The idea was to bring them together so that they can form a sort of consortium where they merge their efforts, and it was initially just a project that was going to enhance their income support from their waste picking activities. But as it turns out, as we were developing the project further, these women were more willing to involve themselves in other activities that were going to ensure that they get a higher income at the end of the day. So Zimbabwe Sunshine Group played the role of facilitating issue of land from the city of Harare. We engaged the city of Harare, we engaged the Environmental Management Agency. So our role was to facilitate the registration as a CBO with the EMA, because remember, these were members of the community who otherwise would have been unable to have access to land because it's quite expensive. So the city of Harare, as a partner in the waste management sector in the city, decided to avail this land for free, provided that it was going to complement activities that the women were doing in the community and make their work easier. So this was the second part of our project, where we now said, how can we do that and be in partnership with the city? We came up with the idea of that the center, instead of just managing recyclables that the women gathered or after they had a sort of base income, would then buy from others who were also collecting in the community, we decided, let's turn it into a drop-off center for waste for the community members, the general community members.
Residents from nearby Tafara flats and surrounding areas are warming up to the idea of not dumping waste in undesignated open spaces. They now bring their waste to the recycling center, which is helping to keep their neighborhood cleaner and healthier.
Marara edu pano and pari clean panenge pakachena pane utsanana pano clean zvakanaka, so shuya nebhini rako unosvika and then wobva warisa pachisimba apa panana gogo vanambuya utsanana vanoritorawo voseparata marara, vapedza wokuratidza kuti kunorasa chii marara acho, and then wosukudza bhini rako. Kana zvadaro unenge wapedza pekurasira marara.
This is doing a program ye Zimbabwe Sunshine Group. Yekunabanye abasitshelayo ukuthi hey ngale kuthathwa abantu njengoba mama esahlala ngemakhaya singelanto asizenzayo. Ikhukuza kwami lapha lami ngizojoyina abanye omama ukuthi sibambane njengabo mama. Ngafika ke lami ngabhalisa ngaregister. Ngangena kwena leyo group. Okwenza ngafuna le program sasiyenza ngekwe waste management. Okwezibi ezaziphongulahlwa nje iTafara yonke leyi. So sasidobha lezo zigubhu lamakheni sikuthanise ndawonye, and then sesenza lokuthi awumakhelwana bethu babe besiza lezi bezo lahlela lapha. Kwakulabanye abakhethayo nxa sithe zabuya iplastic zisema plastic lokubolayo kusiye compost njalo nje zihamba ngama grade lezi zibi, and then izibi lezi nxa sezithe zaba zinengi njengama imbodlela zama plastic lama types atshiyeneyo, kule kuthiwa i-HD, kuzoba le PP, kuzoba lamakheni. So sasiyathengisa, singathengisa kwakusincedisa njengabo mama. Njengomuntu mina ngokwami kubenefit into ezinenganyana. Okunjengakathesi njengoba nikulapha enhlezi khona kule machine le sayinikwa idona. I-heavy duty machines le siyathunga ama-apron la esiwagqokileyo njengoba nibona sathunga khona lapha ethe sathungayo. So khonapha siyadinga silezikolo eziningi ngathi silapha eZimbabwe sidinga ukuthi nxa singathola isikolo sesi-offer sithenga ama-uniform lathi siyathengisa kwaphana siyazuza something, siyaphila ezindlini njengabo mama sincedisana. Also silengadi, silezivande ngaphandle ngale, siyalima imbhida, amabhathanathi, Imbida le siyayithengisa khona lapha opposite lathi kulama flats akhona kuhlala abantu abaningi kakhulu abalazivande bayathenga imbida le bengathenga lokho esikulimayo lathi sihamba siyethengisa ukuswelayo ngezindlini zethu siyaphila le moli zethu.
On average, all the programs that initiatives that they do at this center, on average weekly, each woman is going home with $15 US. This is something that, in addition to everything, has brought them some respect from within the community, because this is an important aspect of the activities that we do. Sometimes people tend to have very low self-esteem. They don't believe in themselves simply because they don't view themselves as being at par with other members of their communities. And when people talk, sometimes it discourages development that could potentially come from individuals that have a vision, simply because they are not sure if what they are doing is going to bring results at the end.
Marara akanga achiri kurasirwa panze apo mudhuze nemutaro ndopaive neskip bin. Programu ino isati yasvika kwatiri, saka ndaitouya zvangu ndichitotsvaga basa. Marara aitosvika kufenzi kwawo achiyambuka tara, paipane tsvina yakanyanya. Mr. Mbaisa mva vazondiona vaipfuura netara iyoyi vachindiona everyday ndichishanda basa iroro. Mumwe musi mva vauya zvikanzi mama muri kuita zvinhu zvakanaka, rambai makashingirira pazviri. Ndine programu yandichada kutanga kunoku yekuunganidza marara iwaya tichaasepareta, tichaisa magroups maanofanha kuenda. Hatichade marara anongoungana mudzimba, mumaraini, mumarodhi, papi papi. Tiri kuda kuti isusu marara auya achiungana pano, muchaasepareta. Pamusoro pezvo anenge asiri marara. Kana magrupa neuwandu hwawo nekufanana kwawo inenge yaamari, toda kudzidzisa kuti munenge maakuti atengesa. Takafara zvikuru nokuti tange tisiri kunyatsowana kukwanisa kuisa homwe mari muhomwe.
Pandakatanga kuti ndiwe muchirongwa ichi, kuna mai vataigara nawo neighbor yangu yakasvika kuseni ikanditi, mwanangu handei kurunzi kutorwa vanhu vebasa uko kudhuze nekumaflats. Tabva tatosiya basa ratenge tichiita ndokubva tauya kunoko. Vachitanzi moziva kuti voluntary work here iri kuitika, hapasi kutambirwa. Tikati isusu totoda zvedu voluntary work, totoda hedu tozoshanda pane kuswera tichiita makuhwa tiri mulocation. Ndokutanga kwatakaita pano. Chandiroda kutenda, ndoda kutenda even vakuru vedu vebasa nekuti encourage kwavanenge vachitiita, hatina kumubvira tadzokera shure.
And as Zimbabwe Sunshine Group, with these women, we also want to keep developing their capacity to run these centers and establish new initiatives from any ideas that they might have.
Nokuti kana pandaiuya panapa ndichiunganidza ndichitsvaira nchidi, ndaisina ruzivo rwakakwana. Vakazotiendesa kucommunity uku muTafara muno mukuhall, vakatidzidzisa kuti marara anounganidzwa muchiita zvokuita sei. Chokwadi taane ruzivo rwakakurisa. Zviri kubva pamarara iwaya anonzi marara, asi kana chimaona hatiadedze kuti marara nokuti takapinzwa muruzivo, taakuadedza kuti imari.
Vagari vemumaflats vanouya nemarara avo paskip bin pedapo. Vachinge vauya nemarara iwayo tinoaseparata isusu. Vanouya nezvakasiyana siyana. Vanouya nemaplastics, zvigubhu, masadza. Saka isusu tinozoseparata tiri paskip bin yedapo. Zvigubhu tozviisa kwazvo. Kuna inonzi HD. HD ndoye zvigubhu zvemaheu, zvevhimu, zvemastay soft, tinozviisawo pazvo zvega. Zvemvura ndoye inonzi PET, tinozviisawo pazvo zvega. Kozouya maplastic tunoaisa pawo ega. Masadza tunonaendesa kukombosti kwedu kwatinoendesa masadza kwaanozoorera ariko. Kana aorera ariko ndiko kwa fertilizer yatinozoisa mumagadheni edu atiri kuita. Tine tariro yekuti hatisi kuregera, hatisi kudzokera shure, tikuramba tichiita sei tichiita. Paproduct yedu yatinenge tawana paskip bin pedu tinoichengeta tichiisa mumatunbag. Kana taisa mumatunbag, kana yawanda inokolektwa pano tichinoitengesa kune vanhu vanotenga vakasiyana-siyana kuchitungwiza kuwevhari.
The Tafara Recycling Center has become a one-stop sustainable community development center, a demonstration of how different concepts can be brought together to make recycling more attractive. Running on solar energy, the center now has a borehole where members of the community can access clean water for free as well as charge their phones. The offices have created employment and are helping people beyond just waste. To ensure that this concept lives for generations to come, young people have also been roped in to work at the center.
Ndipinde mazviwa winda ndiri mwana mudiki ife sinatanga ita zvekunhonga ndichisela ndichitengesera vamwe vaita zve-social group. Ndazokumbira kupinda mubasa ravo. Ndapinda unoti zvekufamba zvakanaka, ndikwanisa kuena something, ndikwanisa kutenga hembe zvimwe izvo zvadaro. Naona kuti ndikwanisa kuzvibatsira pane vangu kuda ndotedzera vamwe apanza ndichiita, saka ndakwanisa kuzvibatsira pazvinhu zvangu kuti handingasarudze kuti ndoita chakanaka, kozi kuti utonzi waita chakanaka unongopfuura nepasi unongochienda kumusoro, saka anongosadza kuti kumarara kana kuti chii. Saka ndaramba ndangoshingirira kubasa rangu. Izvi ndokwanisa kutenga product just zvigubhu, sometimes inombonoseparata marara apo, sometimes zvitombononhonga marara chitoisa pane zvimwe.
Vechidiki ava tiri kuvadzidzisa nekuti munharaunda matinenge tigere ndo matiri kushandira, tichitenderera tichishandira imomo, zvokuti marimwe zuro rori rakauya pamba pangu inini richitenga marara ndakange ndakaunganidza ipapo. Vakatondiona zveshuwa, rori vakariona nemaziso avo. Saka pakutaura nawo kwandinenge ndichiita, vakasiyana mukufunga. Mumwe anoti, imi mbuya imi munorwara, mungati isusu tiite basa rokushanda mumarara, isusu toda kushanda mumaofisi. Asi mumwe anozvitambira kuti chokwadi mabasa mashoma, vanhu vazere nemadhigiri mudzimba umu, mabasa acho haasi kuwanika pese pese. Saka nzira yamuri kutiudza iyi mama tiri kugadzirira inotibatsira, nokuti kana uchishanda nemarara hauna capital yaunoda.
I think the future is quite bright, and I think at this stage we are at a point of where we are now evolving as an organization, and the programming also is evolving. We are now taking a different strategic direction that is looking at strengthening the work that we're doing so that we are able to sustain it for the next 10 years. And I think in that process, we have now developed internal competencies, or we have established functions with various competencies to be able to establish a strong technical support base within the organization. Secondly, we have also had to transform some of our programming and the focus areas that we're looking at to actually expand them a bit so that we are able to speak to the current challenges and future challenges that are facing the development sector. So in terms of the focus areas, we have actually transformed just from sustainable waste management to actually have a programming around sustainable waste management and sound waste and sound chemical waste management. And we also have a pillar that is looking at adaptation and another one that is looking at mitigation. And lastly, we are looking at an element that is going to speak mainly to the issue of sustainability, which is enterprise development.
We are all encouraged to embark on this transformative journey from waste to wealth. That way, we can witness the environmental repercussions, but also the promise as waste evolves into cash, shaping a sustainable and prosperous future. Remember, do not litter and try your best to recycle and reuse. Now until the next episode, goodbye.